Welcome, fans, and welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums here on Rock Show Critique. I'm Joseph Sudo, and today it's just going to be me solo here as we talk about the band Fastway. Now, Fastway, obviously, many of you know, they were formed back in 1982, supposed to be with Pete Way and Fast Eddie Clark combination here, but just as they were getting ready to record, Pete Way had to bow out due to record contract issues that would not allow him to participate. So the initial lineup of Fastway features none other than Fast Eddie Clark on guitar, Dave King on vocals, and of course Jerry Shirley on drums. So we're going to rank them on down, our least favorite Fastway album all the way down to our favorite. And that's going to kick off with there's 7 studio albums in all, and we will be counting the soundtrack Trick or Treat because that one does feature pretty much all new material except for 2 tracks, which makes up the album. That's the soundtrack to the movie of the same name. So our number 7 choice is none other than Eat Dog Eat. A little play on words there. Came out in 2011, and it was on the MVD audio label. This one never charted. First and only album with new singer Toby Jepson, who also was in the band prior to. They did a few gigs a couple years before, but this was the first time they recorded an album with him. The album was produced by Toby and Fast Eddie Clark, and not too much really to talk about here. It's the first Fastway album. So if you go back a ways, the previous album was recorded in 1990. So you got a 21-year gap in between albums here. It also features Matt Eldridge on drums. For me, there's two tracks on here that stand out. One of them is the Freedom Song, and the other one is On and On. Just some, good ideas here, but nothing to really reach out and grab you, in my opinion. So that's where we stand with Eat Dog Eat. And we're going to go on down to our number 6 choice here, which came out in 1988, On Target. This album actually peaked on the charts here in the U.S. at number 135. It was released on Enigma Records first, and this is the first album to feature Leah Hart on vocals. And he also had a hand in producing the album with Fast Eddie Clark as well. This album had many varied guests on it. If you look at the credits here, probably one of the more notable ones is Terry Thomas, who, if you remember, he went on to do a lot of producing for Bad Company and stuff like that. He did a lot of collaborations with the band on this, with Fast Eddie and Leah on this here. Featured many guests, which to me is probably one of the reasons why it's kind of an uneven album. It's like they took a different course of action. They kind of picked up from where Waiting for the Roar kind of left off, which was a couple years prior. And unfortunately, there's not too much really that stands out on this album. For me, A Fine Line is probably the best song on the album. Close Your Eyes is another one I would recommend on this album. From where Fastway was and to where they were in 1988, it's definitely just a far cry. And it's, sad because, they had some good ideas here, but it just never really were able to finish them and put out a better product. Now, they did release our 5th choice is here. Our 5th Fastway album, number 5, we're going to give it to Bad Bad Girls. It came out in 1990. Pretty much features the Similar lineup. It's got, Fast Eddie, Leah Hart on vocals. Was produced by the two of them along with Chris O'Shaughnessy. Um, once again, came on an Enigma, never charted. A little bit slightly better than On Target, but just still not anything to really write home about, I would say. A couple good tracks I would say on this album that stand out. I've Had Enough, Cut Loose, and Bad Bad Girls, the title track. Um, Not too much to really add here. It wasn't really, people at this point pretty much all but checked out on the band, unfortunately, because they really had nothing else to offer. After those first couple albums, it's like, the honeymoon was over. And that is going to take us down to our fourth choice. 1986 February, we got Waiting for the Roar. And this would be the third album released by the band, the follow-up to All Fired Up. This one pretty much told the story in general. The third album, and it never charted on the Billboard album charts. There was a drastic change in the sound. It was produced by Terry Manning, and it had a whole new lineup, except for Fast Eddie and vocalist Dave King. They basically got the Paul Reed on bass, drummer Alan Connor, and guitarist Shane Carroll. These are three guys who actually all played together for years before they got into Fastway here. Unfortunately, the material on the album isn't as bad as you may make it out to seem to be, because it does have its good share of songs on here. There's no denying that. But with the change, they added elements with the keyboards and try to go more 80s. It was a record company decision, as many people have mentioned over the years in interviews. It's just a shame the record company didn't let the band pick up where they left off with the first two albums, because they were really building something with those first two albums, in my opinion. Even though the sales dropped from the first one to the second one, it didn't drop a whole lot where they should have shifted gears entirely, and that was their mistake with this album. But this album, like I said, Waiting for the Roar. I would say the top two songs that I would give it on this album are The World Waits for You, Kill Me With Your Heart. Those two songs definitely really stand out for me. Little by Little, Tired of Your Love, Move Over. Some really good, solid songs here. Um, and then you got some filler, and that's where the album really loses it, um, unfortunately. Uh, but that's where we stand with Waiting for the Roar, coming in as the fourth best Fastway album, which is going to take us down to November of 1986. We got Trick or Treat, the soundtrack to the movie. It came out actually a month after the film was released in November of '86, and it would actually chart at number 156. So you get a return back to the charts. I'm sure the movie helped with that. Um, it was all new material. It featured a track from the first album and a track from the second album. And it would be the final album to feature vocalist Dave King. Some of the songs on here that I would highly recommend are Don't Stop the Fight, obviously the title track Trick or Treat, and Hold On to the Night. Some really good songs on here. A little bit of filler, but not too much. But overall, it is a very solid album, and definitely earns its take here as the number 3 Fastway album. And that's going to take us down to our second choice. And this might surprise a couple people, because we're going to go with the debut at number 2. I know the debut always seems to get the accolades as the stronger of the two albums, but in my case, I disagree with that. I think the debut is great. I just find the second album to be better. So the debut came out April of '83, the highest charting album they ever had, number 31, produced by Eddie Kramer. Um, Many gems. The first, obviously, the two gems on this album that really helped push it were "Easy Living" and "Say What You Will." Those two songs, classic songs. Still played to this day. You can go on certain stations and hear these songs for sure. Um, I think with this album, for me, it's just there's a lot of good stuff on here. A lot of interesting riffs. "You Got Me Running." That's another great song that I really always play on this one. That's one of those ones you never skip. "All I Need Is Your Love." "Feel Me, Touch Me." It's actually it's a really good album. Couple tracks are a little on the weaker or filler side, but for the most part, this album hit them coming right out of the gate, and they were able to land very prestigious spots on some tours for this album. They opened for Iron Maiden on the Peace of Mind tour. They also opened up for AC/DC on the Flick of the Switch tour, and yeah, that really helped push this album. And unfortunately, it seems like that's where they hit their peak. Unfortunately, they should have been able to keep going from there, but unfortunately, that was like the highlight of the whole tour situation for them. All right, and that's going to take us to our favorite Fastway album, the one we feel is the best, no doubt about it. July 1984, All Fired Up came out. And this one hit number 59 on the charts. Saw a new lineup in the fact that it gave us Charlie McCracken on bass. Jerry Shirley returns on drums, and obviously Dave King and Fast Eddie are still on board. Eddie Kramer returned to produce this album. Another solid effort by him. "Hung Up on Love" was the first song that was written for this album. Solid song. So this album got a lot of airplay on the AOR stations. "Tell Me" was a big one that was also a video along with the title track "All Fired Up." Two songs that really stood out on this album were "Misunderstood" and "Steal the Show." Those two songs all kick off right in a row. You got "All Fired Up," "Misunderstood," "Steal the Show." I mean, it's like a nonstop nonstop love, as they say, which was also on the album. But it's a nonstop hit parade of songs. Like every song is very solid. There's not one throwaway on this album. This is the most consistent and, in my opinion, the best Fastway album. So much good stuff on here, and very highly recommended. If you never had a chance to hear it, or you're always leery about getting it, this is one that we would definitely recommend. This is definitely the album for me that I've always chosen this as the best Fastway album, and it's never changed. So there you have our album rankings for Fastway, and now we're gonna give you a little bonus here. We're gonna give you the my top 10 Fastway songs. So we have something to go by here. So number 10 from the debut album, we've got "You Got Me Running." Very solid song. Number 9, "Hurtin' Me" from All Fired Up. Number 8, "Hung Up on Love" from All Fired Up. And continuing that trend at number 7 is going to be "Tell Me," which was one of the videos also that was shown on MTV for the album. Number 6 is "All Fired Up," another MTV video. Number 5, the first single ever released off the debut, none other than "Easy Livin'." Classic song. Number 4 is "The Stranger," and that one is from All Fired Up. Our third favorite Fastway song is the one we talked about, the Zeppelin-esque Misunderstood. Very, very underrated song. I mean, you don't. This is one you never hear. You would never really hear it anywhere. Yet, basically, have to get the album to hear it. But once you hear it, this song sticks in your head and then some. Number two, If You Could See from All Fired Up, and if you remember, this also appears on the Trick or Treat soundtrack. So this song was so good they put it on an album twice. And that's going to take us to the best Fastway song, which not many people will argue with this choice. None other than Say What You Will, and You Will, from the debut album. So there you have our rundown of real quick of the Fastway albums, the best 10 Fastway songs, and obviously there was many other honorable mentions we could have stuck in there as far as songs go. Uh, but we just wanted to give you the 10 best right up there, right up front there. So yeah, feel free to leave your comments on your favorite Fastway songs. If you disagree with our album ranking, we're big boys. We can take it. Let us know. We're definitely here to love to see some comments and see what everybody else thinks. This is definitely one of the bands that they should have been bigger than they ever were. They just these record companies sometimes they can be the death of you, and they really were the death of this band. Unfortunately, the first two albums after they came out, it was pretty much all downhill from there. Once they got the lineup change and the change of direction. Um, but I mean, I'm not taking anything away from the other guys that were in the band later on or any of the other music. At least we have 7 albums to cherish. And there's fans out there who might only like the first album or might only like the first two. But, there's also fans out there who like the band regardless of what way they went as far as their choice of music direction. So stay tuned for many more ranking the albums, and appreciate you going ahead and hitting that subscribe button there and giving us the opportunity to rank these albums for you. We're going to have many more, like I said, coming down the road. So stay tuned.